Hello and welcome to your Team DSI Advanced Training Webinar. This is Wednesday, August 30th. My name is Jared Krebs, Emerald Director, and I'm pictured here with my wife, Crystal. We're co-founders of Team DSI, and we have a very, very special training for you today, some very special guests. And I want to first of all just acknowledge you for being an advanced leader. You're on this call because you take your business seriously, much more seriously than the average USANA associate. You're planning your volumes every week. You know your points. You know how many points you need to make your next check. You have your prospects. You plan your work and you work your plan. You post your weekly action plan. You're the best of the best in not only Team DSI, but in USANA. And so we want to put more time into you. We want to give you more training. We believe in you. You are the next generation of USANA. And before we get started with today's guest, I want to just remind you all that to always remember that amateurs sell products, but professionals sell the vision. When you enroll somebody new, even as a client, make sure you're showing them videos that explain the entire USANA lifestyle. Make sure you're getting them on webinars, inviting them to more events. Just because somebody's a client doesn't mean that that you stop inviting them. I'm always inviting my clients to see the vision of USANA. A lot of times it's great to start them as clients because that gets them a good foundation. But take it that next level. Sell the vision of USANA. Show people what USANA can do for their entire life. Have all your clients be on the webinars. Have all your clients go to the local events and see what happens to their life. You are the agent for change. You are the person that can literally transform their future. And we appreciate you and everything you're doing and who you are for the team and your community. So, with that being said, I'm going to introduce our special guests for today. We have Foundation Executive, 3-star Diamond Directors Rick and Terry Young with 20 plus years in USANA. I first met Rick at STI Live, which was a training event that they used to do, and he just had such contagious energy. He is one of the founders of USANA, really, him and his wife Terry. They were there almost from the very beginning of the company. They built the foundation of USANA. They've helped thousands and tens of thousands of people on their journey. And they've actually been retired from building their USANA business for several years as well. So they've been enjoying the fruits of their residual income. But it's always nice to bring somebody on like that so you can really see the vision of what building a successful, solid business can do. They're going to be sharing their story today, and then they also want specifically to do question and answer. So this is your opportunity, and we're going to have a lot of time for question and answer on this call. So please get your questions ready. Take advantage of this opportunity to talk to Rick and Terry Young. Rick and Terry, thank you so much for being on this call. I know that we're not your direct team, but you guys are still taking the time to sew into us today. We really appreciate and love you. And are you there?
We're here.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome to the call. We're certainly excited to hear about your story, both yours and Terry's, and take it from the beginning. What was your life like prior to USANA? What was it like building your business? What were the challenges you had to overcome, and what's it like today? And also from Terry's perspective, as you know, being with your support system and everything she did for the business as well.
Okay, well, I don't know how far back we need to go, but we'll have some fun here. And then if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to jump in, Jared, and spur things along. But
sure.
I guess I'll start with me. Growing up, I came from a family that we weren't wealthy by any means. In fact, when I was in high school, we lived in a 14 by 70 trailer house. I don't know if many people have experienced that or even know what that's like, but there were 6 kids in our family, 5 boys and 1 girl. I was the oldest boy. And so by the time I hit high school, I was still sharing a bedroom with 3 of my younger brothers. So there was 4 of us in that little room. And I just remember I had an aha moment one day. I went in that room and it was a little bit messy. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to do whatever it takes to work hard and have something more and different for me and my family. And my mother, she was awesome. She taught us that to get in life. We had to work hard and graduate, go to school, get a high school degree, and then go to college and get a degree, and then go on and work corporate America. Well, that was the plan, but there wasn't enough finances to go on to college after high school. So I got involved in the oil field out here in Roosevelt, Utah. We have kind of an oil field area. So, but I was a hard worker, and I went to work in the oil field, and because I was a hard worker. It didn't take me long to become a driller in the oil field, and I got to hire my own crew and things, and was making a pretty good income. But still, I had goals set to, I wanted to be financially secure by the time I was 35 and things like that. I set goals early on, and anyways, the oil field worked out really good for 2 or 3 years, and then they started stacking out rigs. The oil field died down. I found myself jumping around from state to state to stay employed. There's lots of story that can go along with all that. Anyways, we got married, and with Terry, she's my beautiful wife. Anyways, as we started having children, we didn't want to be jumping around from state to state, so I changed kind of careers, lucked out, hired on at an oil refinery, and so that was kind of where I was headed. But I didn't own my life. I had to go to work every day to work my shift. I had to miss birthdays if I had to work on birthdays. I went to work at this refinery, and just the way my schedule was set up, I had to miss 7 out of 10 Christmases. And so with the entrepreneurial blood, we actually was always doing things on the side, and we decided to get into fast food franchising. We decided our little town here in Roosevelt needed a Subway sandwich franchise. So we were able to pull that off and put that in on the side. And we thought that would be our American dream. But we soon learned that that was the American nightmare. I wasn't the type that wanted to work in the store. I just thought I'd continue working at the refinery, and we would own the store and hire managers. And, it turned out to be the American nightmare. We were always busy. We were going places. After I'd worked at the refinery for 3 or 4 years, a big name company, Pennzoil, actually bought the refinery, and we thought, wow, with a big name company, we got job security, we'll have it made for life. Well, we learned later on that big name companies don't mean anything. That means that they are big enough that they could close down a company. So anyways, that's what happened to us. Pennzoil ran that refinery for about 7 years, and then they decided to downsize, and they shut down the refinery. And we had already started the franchise, so I decided that we'll probably just go into franchises full time. So we ventured out into neighboring towns, and we actually switched and opened up some taco times, and we opened up 2 more franchises. And instead of being the American dream, like I said, it became the American nightmare. These other towns were 140 miles away. I was on the road all the time. Busiest time in our life. We were doing okay financially, but just didn't have any control of our life. Every time we tried to go on a vacation, there was a breakdown or problem in the store, and it just wasn't working out good. Right about this time is when we got introduced to USANA. We had been introduced to network marketing a lot in the past, and we just didn't feel like it was ever for us. And usually how I got people off my back is I'd say, as soon as you can show me someone that's making an income in our area, come back and talk to me. And that virtually never happened with all these other companies we got introduced to. But we got introduced to USANA, and really I wasn't very interested. The guy left us some tapes, and they just went on the shelf, and I'd known this guy for 20 years. So he fortunately, he was persistent. He kept hitting us up about it, and wanted to know if we had any interest in it. One day he came over basically to pick up the material that he'd left with us, and I felt guilty that we hadn't looked at anything, so we invited him in. We watched a video, and I can honestly say my mind was somewhere else, so we really didn't pay too close attention to that video. But he asked me what I thought about it, and I said, well, it's interesting, but I don't know. We'll see. But that was on a Wednesday. And that Saturday, there was going to be an opportunity briefing in our town. And it just so happened that a young man by the name of Jeremy Stansfield was going to be doing this briefing. It's the It's the one and only time he's ever been to Roosevelt, Utah. Anyways, Hiram, the guy that sponsored us, the meeting was at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and he called us a couple times that morning to see if we were coming, and we kind of gave him a different excuse and told him that we might come or whatever. We weren't too enthused. Well, the meeting started at 11, and he called us for the fourth time right at 11 and said, "Hey, I'm here at this meeting. Are you guys coming?" And so Terry and I looked at each other, and we decided, you know what, we're going to have to go to this meeting just to get him off our back. And our intention was to go there and say, okay, we've looked at it, we're not interested, now leave us alone. But we went there, and the Health and Freedom meeting was pretty interesting, and enough that I could kind of tell that Jeremy was already generating an income, that he was for real. And right after the briefing, they were going to have a training. And so we decided to stay for the training. And I can honestly say that the training, that even clicked with me more. I was one that what caught my interest was the compensation plan. It was different than all these other programs that people had tried to show me. It was, in my mind, it really wasn't MLN because it was a binary plan, so it didn't pay out on levels, it paid out on volume. Volume was something I could understand because a Subway sandwich store pays out on volume by how many sandwiches are sold through the store. My USANA business, as I researched it, it paid out on volume, but it wasn't limited to one location like a Subway sandwich store. It could go worldwide into whatever country USANA was into. And so anyways, we didn't sign up right then and there, but after a few days, we decided to give it a shot, and we took off and was failing miserably the first couple months because we were just trying to tell people about product and things, and it just wasn't going very well. And so in August of 1996, so we signed up just a couple months before August, we decided to go to the convention, basically about ready to quit USANA. We went to the convention, and I got to meet a few of the people that were successful, and I could see that this company was for real. And Terry wasn't able to go to all of it, but I stayed for the whole convention, and it set me on fire. And we had some other circumstances in business that were putting a crimp on us financially, so I decided I have to make something work. And if guys like Jeremy Stansfield and Trent Grant and some of those guys could do it, I could figure out how they did it, and I was willing to work. I could dive in and do it too. So come home from convention, and that was in August of 1996, and decided, okay, we're going to make this work. So we didn't really know very much, but we decided to take whatever we knew and apply it every day. And one of the things that we decided to do was to make a USANA contact every day. And I was pretty shy. I knew I wouldn't always be able to make a new contact every day, so we made it to where we just need to contact either someone in our upline, downline, or ultimately the goal was to contact new people, but we just had to connect because we were still working full-time somewhere else. And so we dove in and went to work, but one of the goals we set was to never miss a weekly check. And even though that's kind of a financial goal, the only way you can meet that goal is by reaching out and making a difference in other people's lives, because you have to, get people involved, sign up people and whatever to generate that check. So we can honestly say that from August of 1996, we have never missed a weekly check in USANA. And so that's something that especially since this is a leadership call, everyone on the phone, maybe you're all already at that point. But one thing I always encourage my people to do is to set a goal at your date of when you can say, excuse me, that I've never missed a weekly check in USANA. So that's a pretty unique thing. I've known lots of people that have gotten in and out of network marketing throughout the years and different companies and whatever, and have done well, and they do okay for a year or two, and then they die out. Well, USANA is the real deal. If you put your head down, go to work, and it's all about people helping people and reaching out and making a difference. It is for real. So Terry and I can say that we have never missed a weekly check in USANA since August of 1996. So onward and upward. The other thing we like to teach people is take whatever you know right now, this very day, and go out and use it every day. People keep thinking they have to know, what the magic tape is or the magic bullet or whatever. And I've always trained people and told them that once you sign your application, once you sign up in USANA, the day you sign your application, you have just been through the very best possible training you could ever go through in USANA. And usually people will look at me kind of puzzled and say, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you just went through the process. So whatever helped convince you to take that step, to sign up and become a new associate, that's what you got to go out and duplicate. So just reflect back on everything that you learned in the process of you signing up, and that's one of the best trainings you can go through. And so a lot of times, like I say, people think that they always need to learn something new or whatever before they can go out and work this business. I remember as we work fast, we'll tell you maybe a little bit about some of the stages, but I believe the first time we spoke publicly at a big event was when we were Emerald directors. And I remember just having all this fear because I'd never read any network marketing books. I'm the type person that I don't read and write too well. I'm just a physical labor kind of guy. In fact, I've always said that it'd be a lot easier for me to just go out and dig ditches than to speak in public or anything else if I could help people just as much, because it's hard for me to have to really step into the zone to talk to people. Anyway, so when I was getting ready to speak that first time, I was afraid because I didn't really know how to do network marketing. I was an Emerald director, but I'd never read any books. And so finally, once I realized that I just needed to keep it simple and tell everybody exactly what we did and how we did it, then that was the key. So anyways, yeah, we can open it up for questions, or we can tell you how we progressed on through gold, ruby, emerald, and
well, we definitely have questions, and this is phenomenal, Rick. And I want to hear from Terry as well, as being the partner in your business. Terry, what was it like for you, prior to USANA, helping Rick, supporting him through building the business? Were you the negative spouse at one point, or were you always kind of positive? Like, talk to us.
Actually, when we decided to get in, we actually were both at the meeting and we both talked about it and we both decided to get in. And so when we got in it, we actually got in it, both of us, to go with it. It wasn't, we didn't have a negative spouse.
Okay.
But before, and just to give a little more history, before he was doing this, he was saying that we'd gotten into franchising, we'd gotten into some of those things. He did the building, like the building of the Taco Times, the inside, the playlands.
So we own the commercial real estate
as well. And we had 4 children that were from 2 years old to 10 years old when we signed up. And so
wow.
The year before, like from the time our youngest Cody was old enough to know who his dad was not around. We would see Rick like once a month. Or if we drove out the 3 hours with the 4 kids to go see him, we could see him for a couple of days. But there was never anywhere really convenient to stay when we were there. So I was running and managing the Subway here in town. I was doing all the bookwork for our 3 stores, and he was out building them. And so, yes, we were making our ends meet financially, but we never saw each other. And we never went on a family vacation. We never did any of those things, because if we happened to plan to leave for a weekend, the fridges would go out, or the cash registers would break down, or somebody would forget to come in and nobody would open the store, and we'd get calls. And it was just, we were completely tied down. And that's when Hiram brought us the stuff. And I know Rick grabbed it from Hiram and he handed it to me and he says, "You look at this." And I took it and I stuck it on top of the fridge. So I thought, I don't have any time to even, do anything else. There's just no way to fit anything else into my day. But when he did finally pester us enough to get us to go to that meeting, it did click. I will say for me, it was more on the health end that it clicked, because I'd had a lot of health issues and Rick saw the business end of it. So therefore, we could see both sides, and it helped us to kind of approach people from both sides, which did help. And then as we were building our USANA business, it was slow those first couple of months, mostly because we were trying to sell vitamins, but we were kind of didn't have a lot of confidence. We didn't feel like USANA, I guess we didn't know if it was really real. And going to convention, actually seeing people that had made it, finding out the integrity behind the company, that's what made all the difference for us, because then we knew what we were offering people. And it didn't mean that it was easy, because we were still working our full-time jobs every day. And then we literally would fit it into the nooks and crannies. Rick, luckily for him, he doesn't need a lot of sleep. And so he would drive out to the city and do meetings 2 or 3 times a week. It was wonderful once we figured out that you could do things on the phone. It freed him up from that nonstop travel back and forth, because it was, a good 4 to 5 hours of travel every time he went out, plus doing a meeting for somebody. And half the time you get out there in the beginning and nobody shows up. So
once we discovered the phone, that's when our business went through the roof, when we decided that we could talk to 10 times as many people I used to think I had to have them in front of me so I could convince them. But I realized, if you're convincing people and dragging them across the finish line, that doesn't always work as good. So on the phone, you could contact and talk to 10 times as many people. The other thing I might comment on is where we happen to get signed up in USANA. If there's any old timers on the phone, they'll know we actually got signed up in a leg that's down under Trent Grant, but we were in a leg that was already doing 5,000 weekly volume for Trent. Trent is signed up under Paul Mackey's, which was Paul Mackey's strongest leg at the time. That was already doing 5,000 a week for Paul Mackey. And Paul Mackey is signed up directly under Jeremy Stansfield. So literally, we have never had any upline that could help us, because we were already maxed out in all their legs. But so we eventually, since I understood the compensation plan so well, I knew it wasn't fair to call on anybody up above us to, come and do meetings for us or do anything. So what I did is, when those leaders who didn't even know me were having meetings and things, I just tried to gather people and go to them, which that was 150 miles away. And so I'd take a van load of people or whatever out to a meeting that Jeremy or Trent or somebody was doing. And so anyways, that's how we built. So I guess the reason I wanted to point that out is a lot of times people think, somebody, they made it because they had just an upline that built half their business or whatever. So the fun thing is we totally stabilized all those guys, but I've just made Jeremy very solid, or all of us just did. But anyway, so I always tell people that, you're the CEO of your own business, and it all starts with you. And so away people got to go.
Wow, that's a great story. A great point too, that, nobody ever put new business in your business. None of your upline, did that. And, I guess it just had to make you stronger, right? Sink or swim.
Yep. And what's interesting is through some of the the toughest times, that's when you grow the most. I mean, you can take positive moments and accelerate, but you just got to put your head down and go to work. And that's where we started having fun. I mean, was it 1998? I guess we were the number one sponsors in the whole company. And I'm the type person that as soon as you sign up someone, I want them talking. There's a lot of leaders that want to make sure people have training and whatever. I was always a little bit different. I wanted people to take that excitement and enthusiasm and go out and talk to people immediately. Mm-hmm. And I always train people that if you're not wanting to go and talk to your friends and family and everyone that you are really close to, then you need to work harder on yourself than anything else, because we are part of something great, and it is so tremendous that you got to work on your own belief system. If you're wanting to just go run ads and sign up strangers and not make sure that your family and everyone knows all about this. Now it is true, you can't just cram it down their throat and things, because people might not be ready or whatever, but you got to work hard on yourself and get to where you want to share it with everybody that you know and love. And
because you realize that you are offering them a gift, that this is an amazing opportunity. It's amazing for their health. And if you don't have that belief level, people can feel that. They know the difference. And how Rick was saying, sometimes those really hard times push you and that's when you grow. Well, that was the problem when the refinery closed down. That was about 90 families in our town that all of a sudden didn't have an income. And so therefore, since we had the subway, it was struggling. And so luckily for us, we just dug in and we built our USANA business. And then we paid our payroll from our USANA business because Subway couldn't make it. So some of those times that really you're struggling, it makes you dig deep and it makes you really work, and you have to have a why. And when we built that franchise, we had mortgaged our home to the hilt. So we had everything on the line at that point. We either sunk or swim. It was do it or lose it all.
So yeah, see, we had the advantage of being in such desperation that made us work. but actually, if people will just realize, I mean, I've never seen a business literally in direct marketing and networking. You literally could fail 80 to 90% of the time and still be successful. Where in any other business, if that happens, you're just out of business. And so the 10 or 20% of the time that you're successful is going to help thousands of people and make you wealthy. And so you just have to realize that those no's just mean that, no, not right now, or they know they don't know enough. And I used to always joke around and tell people anytime you get a no, you need to just get a referral. And anyways, that's what I did. When people told me no, when I was getting information out to them, I just come up with that word "hoodia," and I take their no and put it on the end. And so if someone says, "No, I'm just not interested in network marketing," that just clicked in my head to ask them for a referral. And I says, "Well, who do you think?
Who do you know?
Who do you know that you think might be interested in network marketing?" And so I was always, anytime someone turned me down, I'd start asking them who they knew. And sometimes that'd open up doors, because anybody that really took off in my organization, the majority of the time, it wasn't somebody I knew. It was somebody I knew that either referred me to somebody, or somebody I knew that signed up and didn't really do much, but they knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that finally caught the vision and took off. And so I've even had people in my downline that say, "Boy, I don't want to talk to so-and-so because I just don't know if they'd be very good for my business," or maybe they were negative or whatever. Well, you need to talk to everybody, because it just may be the thing that'll help change that person's life and help move them forward. Or if nothing else, you don't know who they know. And when Terry and I look back at our business, half our giant leaders and people that took it to the next level came from people that knew people that knew people that knew people. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then it always was things. Terry and I set goals to go. We set a goal to go diamond in USANA. And so took us about a year and a half to go gold. And then 4 months after that, we were in momentum. And so we just kept on going. We finally got to a point to where we felt like almost anybody we talked to, we were going to sign up, because we were just rolling. So 4 months later, we went ruby. And so we went gold in January, and then ruby in May, and then emerald the following January. And we had set goals to go diamond. And so we were working all that next year, and was building a good solid emerald team and getting to where we could just about go diamond. Anyways, it got to where it was November, and this was in '99, and we're striving to see what we could do to go diamond. And finally it hit me one night as I was studying our downline and whatever, and seeing who we could help advance here and there and everywhere. And it was getting ready. It was around Thanksgiving time, maybe it's a little bit earlier than that, around the holidays. And it finally clicked with me that the holidays would be the best time to build your business, when most people would think, okay, that's the time to back off. Everybody's busy with the holidays and things. But I finally realized, you know what? everybody is seeing more people during the holidays than any other time of their life. And so anyway, so during the holidays, you're going to Christmas parties and whatever, and people are always talking about something or their life. And so I just decided that we'd incorporate USANA into every conversation that we could. But, you increase your listening skills and figure out where people are at in their lives. And anyways, that particular year, we got lots of people to see the vision of USANA, showed them that it was better to get involved in December than waiting until January when everybody was going to get involved when they set New Year's resolutions. And so we went diamond December 24th at 6 p.m., 1999. So we're Christmas Eve diamonds.
Wow, that's a great story. I love that. You went diamond when most people stop working their business.
Right.
That's great advice for everyone on the call and everyone who's going to listen to the recording. We have 2 questions, and we want to probably try and get some quick answers because we're out of time. Okay. One is from my mom, Viola Krebs, Executive Gold. Are you there, Mom?
I am here. This is really just kind of a quick question. I know because I'm here local, I work with a lot of the local team, and they're always saying these stories about Rick Young. And so we've never really had Rick Young at one of our meetings since we've been there, because he's in Roosevelt, and they talk about him like all the time and tell us that he used to bring busloads of people. They're like, he would drive 150 miles and he'd have a busload of people. And so my question, Rick, is how did you get a busload of people to sit in a car with you for, 150 miles to come and listen to a presentation for a 3-hour drive?
I was a champion wrestler in high school, and I had a really good headlock.
That's funny.
You want to know what? Actually, I got USANA totally, thoroughly in me. And so I got to where I just knew that this company was something great and that it was all about people helping people and reaching out and making a difference, to where I got excited enough that people could see that I was going to do something with it. And a lot of these people knew that I was, a pretty aggressive worker, and they could just feel that I was on the move, and they could either, get on the train and come with me, or we were going to leave them behind. But the other thing is I set that goal at that convention to never miss a weekly check. And so, if it didn't matter, clear up until midnight on Friday nights or whatever, I made sure that I was doing something to get people signed up, ordering product, doing whatever. And this was even when we were still working full time, but we did whatever it took. But I can tell you, it came from within. And so people, that's my message, is people always needs to work harder on themselves than anything else. You need to increase your listening skills, because everywhere you go, opportunity is knocking. And I got to where eventually it's almost like I had a radar or antenna system. If someone was complaining about their knees aching at a baseball game, I would pick up on that. And you have to learn to seize the moment right then and there, because 2 minutes later, their knees might not be aching as bad once they rub it out or take a Tylenol or something. So
yeah.
Anyways, that's how.
And then another thing too, kind of part of it was fear. We actually didn't want to have to put on meetings. We were a little nervous about that. And so therefore, our answer to that was to take a whole bunch of people and go to a meeting.
Absolutely.
That we didn't have to put on.
Oh, wow. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I just still have these visions of you guys bringing busloads of people. I'm like, because they still talk about it. And
and he would load it to the hill.
Yeah, so it wasn't as glamorous as it sounds. Once in a while, we take a couple
carloads, but usually it was a minivan load.
That's still good.
Unless we had a big training, then we'd plan big things.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
We have our last question from Top Silver Director Renee Martinez. Dad, can you unmute Renee?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yes.
First of all, I want to tell you thank you for your amazing story, and definitely sounds really, really good. I love everything about it. I also have an oil field background. Everything that you said, it sounded like me. I'm not going to get into that, but my question is, everybody goes through something that would make the normal person quit. And it's usually right whenever you get started. What was the thing that y'all went through that was make or break for most people, but y'all just kept
All
trucking?
right. Well, the big thing that made us dig in USANA was we got USANA kind of up and going, and so we sold one of our franchises because we knew we didn't want to mess with that anymore. And so we sold it carrying the note. Anyways, person ended up not running as good as we did, and so it went downhill, and he declared bankruptcy, and so we had $125,000 we had to pay off pretty close to immediately, and we had a $4,000 a month lease space, and so we had to get that from somewhere or lose our home. And so anyways, we were in a do or die situation. So sometimes those things make you take off. But anyway.
One of the things, though, too, that we had gotten going, and I mean, I guess it's really, really good that it happened to us, and they've fixed it since, but we had actually gone Ruby, and once you go Ruby, you used to have to go up to USANA U, and he was up in Canada, and somebody accidentally hit a wrong button and canceled our entire distributorship when we were Rubies.
Oh, man.
In another country. And that next 9 months was just awful. It was a nightmare.
Whoa.
We had to try to rebuild a whole organization. They had to try to put people back in. They had to try to get us a new ID number. So those are the things. It was like, is this really worth it? But at that point, we had enough people in, and you're going, and you're. But that's one of those things that it's a little bit of a stress.
Yeah, so
Wow, that's
so
crazy.
they took care of us, but they put all the downline back together.
But it took months. I'm telling you, 9 months to get everybody in the back in the right place, all the volumes in the right place. Back then you had points to go on the different cruises and the different things, and it was just.
Oh my gosh.
So if
difficult.
The one thing about it is, back in the day, I mean, Mark Wilson got to know us very well. And so we probably had the most trial and tribulation of almost anybody in USANA, which in turn, adversity makes you strong. If any of you out there are weightlifters. And so we had more going against us than in our direction. And like I said, we didn't, we were the upline. We didn't have any upline. I mean, Jeremy and all of them, Jeremy, Trent, all those would work with us, but we never, like I said, we were in a massive blade for them. So anyways, we had lots of things against us that made us dig in and have to really do it.
But I guess the one thing too, I'll add one last thing, is the thing that when we stayed to that training afterwards with Jeremy, that first training, one of the things that really just stuck in my mind is he told us right then in that training that you are going to hit roadblocks. They are going to come. And you have to do whatever you can. You either go through them, around them, over them, under them, whatever it takes, you keep going. He told us that the longer you've been in and the better you're doing, the fewer and farther they're going to be between them, but plan on them. So I think in my mind, I planned that we would have things that came up. We would have rough things to get through. And so I think that's good to tell people when they're getting in. Plan on these. They're going to happen.
So yeah, there's lots of stories. I mean, lots of stories. And so we'll have to do this some more.
Wow, this is awesome. Well, Rick and Terry, thank you so much for your time. I gained a lot of value and knowledge personally from this. Even the thing you just said, Terry, this very last thing of telling my new associates and my existing associates that there's going to be roadblocks and you have to plan for them. And as you get more successful, they'll just be fewer and further between. Those are big things to say. And I'm going to start using that for sure. And I had no idea y'all had such big stuff on the line. I mean, the bankruptcy and your house and the $125,000 and using your USANA to pay your subway payroll and all this stuff y'all had to.
USANA saved us.
It did. USANA literally saved us.
It was a lot of hard work, but
Wow. It's awesome. I had no idea. You just see Rick and Terry Young at the meetings and the conventions. You think, oh man, they have it all together and they just made it, it just happened for them. Oh my God, man. It's like awesome to hear this story. This is like the
Yeah.
best thing for my day.
The very first big leadership training that we got to go on, it was a Lake Powell trip in STI.
Uh-huh.
We were out there on the houseboat, and pretty soon the Coast Guard came and found us. And our youngest son, who was 3, had been in a major accident, had a depressed skull fracture.
And had been life flighted to Primary Children's
Didn't
Hospital.
know if he was going to live or die.
Oh my God.
That was the first big reward
Trip.
Oh
and
my
so
gosh.
that's where, boy, we don't know if we want to go on any more of these trips. But so we've had lots of adversity, and so that makes you dig in and decide where you're at, and so that strengthened my why, because as he made it through all that, I knew that, okay, I needed this time in financial freedom. I never wanted to miss a moment with my family, my children, and so.
And the way, because I know we started with 4 young children. I mean, our oldest was 10 and our youngest was 2. So that means when those 3-4 years, I mean, we still had a whole house full of young kids when we were building the Diamond. But we incorporated them. We had them help us. I mean, back then you were doing lots of newspapers and tapes, and they would put all the stickers on. They'd help put packets together. We just incorporated them into our business so that they were part of it.
One more tidbit, and we'll let you go, because you probably
Overtime.
And that is we set goals to go Diamond. And then we arrived, and we were kind of there. We never really had set goals to go to any Star Diamond spots or anything. But
constantly reevaluate.
So yeah, constantly reevaluate. But what drove us? We're talking about adversity. We were Diamond directors, and I had a mountain biking accident and just about broke my leg and was all skinned up and was laid up for about a month. And so during that month is when I decided, you know what, I can't do anything but lay here in this bed and I can get a phone to my ear. So I started calling all my team and whatever. And so as a result of me getting in a mountain biking accident, we built our business that month. It was
1 star.
It was July, and we went 1 star.
Wow. From your bed in a hospital?
Is what?
No, at home.
I was at home in bed, all skinned up, and just that's what threw us in a run to go 1 star, because I couldn't do anything. I got tired of watching TV, so I just got on the phone and started calling downline and inspiring people in advance. So,
wow, I love it.
So, yeah,
great
embrace
stories. Awesome. Rick and Terry, thank you again. This has been one of my very best calls that we've done. We actually have this recorded on a YouTube link too, so we'll give this to you. You can use this.
Cool.
And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for helping our team. Thank you for being great examples to the USANA family. Thank you for also being so real and sharing what the true struggles were and the true difficulties when it's so easy to not go in all that. So we really appreciate you today. Let's go ahead and unmute the line. Everybody say, have a great day, Rick and Terry, and God bless.
Have a great day.
Have a great day, Rick and Terry.
Have a great
All
day,
right.
Rick and Terry. God
See
bless.
you later.
Whoever has the most fun wins.
Thank you.
Whoever has